As many of you know, I believe that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are both running really good campaigns in different ways. Elizabeth Warren's campaign has been detailed policy proposals. And last week, I told you about Elizabeth Warren's public option for the internet proposal, along with her ideas for restoring net neutrality. We've previously talked about her healthcare ideas, education, so many others. And she has been benefiting. She's been gaining about a point a month for the last 8 months. She's now taken the second place position over Bernie Sanders in the 2020 Democratic primary polls. And I'm going to dig into that polling data a little bit later. But what I want to talk about first is that Elizabeth Warren has put out now a detailed plan for gun safety regulation, and it is really good. And it addresses a lot of the things that earlier in the show I mentioned have been demonstrated to reduce violent homicides in other countries. So let's look at it and pay attention to the legality of all of this stuff, because obviously a lot of gun fetishists won't like what Elizabeth Warren is proposing, but everything here is clearly legal, which is what's really great. So first and foremost, Elizabeth Warren is proposing to do some things by executive action and then other things by legislation. So that's an important distinction. She is accounting for what can she do with an executive order versus what would she need congressional support to do. So background checks for every gun purchase by executive action, including at gun show or online, obvious, have got to do it. Apply the 18 plus age restriction that already exists on more sales. It does not currently apply to all sales. Close what's called the boyfriend loophole, which there's this reality where abusive spouses are banned from purchasing firearms in certain situations, but not dating partners. And that is what's called the boyfriend loophole. It should be closed. Prosecute unlawful gun trafficking and investigate the NRA. She can do this by executive action. Direct the ATF to revoke gun dealer licenses. That is for violations that they've already found or that have already been adjudicated or determined. Really important that we enforce a lot of the rules that we have. And then Elizabeth Warren also wants to create a federal licensing system for any gun and ammunition purchase, with the idea of tracking purchases across state lines and tracking concerning gun purchase behavior or patterns. A 1 week waiting period, increasing the minimum age to 21 after the executive action would increase it to 18 plus in all cases. She wants legislation passed by Congress to up that to 21 years old. Prohibit anyone convicted of a hate crime from owning a gun. Boost the excise tax on handguns to 30% from 10% and on ammunition to 50% from 11%. Chris Rock said this years ago, make the bullets really expensive. And that's exactly what Elizabeth Warren is proposing here. If you look at studies that look at violence as a public health issue, they find that we have a problem that other countries don't have with regard to gun culture. And one change alone won't solve this. It has to be comprehensive. And what's great about Elizabeth Warren's proposal is that, number one, it attacks a lot of the different issues surrounding gun violence in different ways. But number two, it doesn't violate the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. Obviously, it doesn't violate the First Amendment. It doesn't focus in just one area. It's tailored to the problems we have in this country, other than the cultural ones, which, again, are difficult to deal with. And it doesn't violate the Second Amendment. Now, all of that being said, and given that I support this plan, I am concerned that electorally, this may not be the most advantageous. What I mean by that is the left does not tend to see guns as a voting issue based on polling. This isn't my opinion. The right also doesn't see gun rights as a voting issue nationally, unless a Democrat is trying to restrict access to guns, in which case sometimes people who wouldn't vote at all will come out to vote and vote for the Republican merely to oppose the gun safety regulations. It's disgusting. It's sick, but that's the reality. So I'm behind Elizabeth Warren's plan 110% here, but I do wonder about the electoral implications about focusing too much on this issue over others merely from an electability standpoint. I've spoken with Bill Scher about this in the past, and I want to hear from you about that. Aside from whether you like this proposal, and my prediction is a lot of people in my audience will, what do you think about the sort of electoral viability of making this a prominent issue? Let me know what you think.